Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our Lab Matrix Labs, the video number 39. I've been discussing in the previous video the following. We are still working with the testimony report findings concerning our domain. We have stopped the last time at this point, which is account operators should be empty. Okay, what is the account operators? This is an Active Directory default security group. The members of this group can do a lot of things. What are the things? We can go to this URL, which is discussing these Active Directory security groups. If you go there and see what is the account operators, if you go there, the account operator groups grants limited account creation privileges to a user. Members of this group can create and modify most types of account, including accounts for users, local groups on the server, global groups for the Active Directory. Group members can log in locally to the domain controller. So this is a very critical security group. They can, or the members of this group can create user accounts, local groups, okay, and I think of also local users. So it can create accounts, local users and local groups, and Active Directory users and Active Directory groups. And this can log into the domain controller. So it is allowed to log into the domain controllers. Members of these account operators, again, one of the important features of this group, that it can add members to the servers group. Let's see first, or let's continue the description of this or the privileges of this group. Members of the account operators can't manage the administrator user account or the local administrator account on the domain controller. Okay, the user accounts of administrators, the group, or the members of the local administrators group on the local administrator group on the domain controller, or the administrators, server operators, account operators. Okay, members of this group can't modify user rights. Okay, but there is something here. The account operators applies to so on. So here he's saying that he cannot change or play with the members of the server operators group, but here there is a note saying the opposite. He's saying by default this built-in group has no members. This is what the test is checking, that there is no members in this group. Okay, and he's saying if you need to give some users the ability to create users and groups in the Active Directory, this should be done by a custom delegation. Okay, this we know we can do it from the Active Directory delegation wizard. Okay, so if we go and continue, see the note here that this group can create and manage users and groups in the domain, including its own membership, the membership of the account operators, okay, and that of the server operators. So there is a lot of options or a lot of privileges this group has, or the members of this group have. First, they can create users and group in the domain, and I think they can create local users and local groups on the domain controller, and they can do other things. They can here log in locally to the domain. This is also one important feature. And they cannot manage the local administrator account or the local administrators group. Okay, this is one thing for the domain controller. He is saying that they cannot manage the server operators group or the account or the backup operators group or the printers operators group. Members of this group can't modify user rights. So anyway, we can focus on one thing here. Here, this test is checking that there are no members on this in this group. Why? Because the hackers can use this group to hack. So he's saying this is a great backdoor for private group of attackers. Microsoft even says do not use this group. So it should be empty. If you need to give a user some rights to create users and groups in the Active Directory, this should be done using the Active Directory delegation wizard. Do not use this group. Okay, So again, if you go to the test, it says there should be no members in this group. Okay, and we see also one thing here, that also this group can add members to the server operators group, which is a very important group that can manage all of the domain controllers. So this is why the test is making sure that you don't have any members in this group, because members of this group, what they can do, they can add or modify the membership of the server operators group. If we go and see the membership, or what does the server operators group do, we will see it can do a lot of things. So if you go there, members of this server operators can administer domain controllers. This group exists only on domain controllers by default. It has no members. Members of this group can do the following: sign into a server interactively, can create and delete network shared resources, start and stop services, backup and restore files, format the hard disk of the computer, and shut down the computer. This group can be renamed, deleted, or removed. So we can see here, this is very critical. The members, or who can add members to this server operators group, the account operators group. So any member, again, if any member, let's go again to the account operators group. If we go there, we can go further. Where is the account operators group? Here we go. Here is the account operators. Okay, here he's saying that this group is considered a service administrator group because it can modify server operators. Okay, so it can add members to the server operators group. So this is why we don't need to give or to put any users in this group, because they have a lot of rights. Okay, so if you go there, we can see we don't have any members in this group. And the next test will be schema admins group should be empty. This is also the members of this group can modify the schema of the Active Directory. I have already the IT group, or my IT members are IT members or personnel are a member of the schema admins. Okay, so it's saying this should not be done. If you need to change the schema, you can put users in the schema group, and then, or schema admins group, and then do the modification you need in the schema, and then remove them from the schema admins group. So this is one thing to do. I have already this because I have my IT. If you go there, I have my group of IT. First of all, me as an administrator or domain admin, I am already a member of this, of the schema admins. But I know that I have already my IT Active Directory group is a member of the schema admins. Okay, so we should be careful concerning this issue. If you need to do something in the schema, you can put a user to be a member in the schema admins, do the modification, and remove him from the schema admins group. Okay, so this is one thing, and we can do it easily. Then we can go to the next test, which is testing the users. He is testing the users, or all of the users in the domain. He's checking that any Active Directory user account should have a password. The password is not reversible. Kerberos authentication is set to RC4. Any user that is created in the Active Directory, he is by default a member of the domain users group in the Active Directory. This is one thing. We need to make sure that all of these are applied to any user in the Active Directory. Any user should have a password. The password should not be reversible. Kerberos encryption is set to RC4. Any user should be a member of the domain users. This is by default. If you create any user in an Active Directory, he will be a member in the domains users group. Okay, if you can see, if you need to make sure or to check what does this group has, you can go to domain users. Okay, as you see, this includes all users in a domain, accounts a domain. When you create a user account in a domain, it's automatically added to this group. By default, any user account that are created in domain automatically becomes a member of this group. You can use this group to represent all users in domain. For example, if you want all domain users to have access to a printer, this is good. Or to apply a global group policy to all users, you can use this group or to apply this group policy to this group of users, okay, or this Active Directory users group. You can assign permissions for the printer to this group or add the domain users group to a local group on the printer server that has permissions for this printer. Okay, so this is good. If you go there, it's checking all of these parameters, saying that if there is anything missing here, with the exception of domain guest, he's saying primary group is domain users with exception of domain guest. A domain guest, this is another group. Okay, you can add to it some users, but let's see also what are the privileges of the domain guests. And I think it should be maybe disabled. Let's see what are the domain guests group in the Active Directory. If you go and check, let me check here, domain users, domain guest, okay, includes the domain's built-in guest account, okay, when members of this group is a group sign in as local guest on a domain joined computer. A domain profile is created on the local, so this concludes, or this the guest account is added to this group, okay, the guest account which have limited privileges. He's saying when members of this group sign in as local guest on a domain joined computers, okay, a domain profile is created on the local computer. Okay, he's saying that the guest account in this group and this group, when members of this group sign in as local guest on a domain joined computer. Okay, so if I add a user to this domain guest, okay, it can log in as a local guest account on any domain joined computer. So this is one good thing to note, okay. So he's saying here in the test that all users should be a member of the domain users group, exception of domain guests. So if you need to add some user to domain guest, this is an exception. So some users can be a member of domain users or domain guest, or I think both. So he giving an exception, okay. All users should be members of the domain users group, and the only exception for this one is to be a member of the domain guest group. Okay, so this is one thing to note. Let's continue with the other tests. If we go further, here another thing, he's saying that the local administrator account on the domain controller by default this should be disabled, and this is one of the best practices. You should disable the local administrator account for your domain controller should be disabled, and the user administrator or the account username should be renamed from administrator to any other name, and it should be given a strong password, and it should not be used to run services on your domain controller. So we can see a lot of things here. The user administrator should be disabled. You should not log in recently. So there is a lot of things concerning this user. First, it should be set a strong password and should be changed regularly, okay, and the username administrator should be changed to any other name. It should be disabled altogether, should be not used to run any services on the domain controller, and we have seen here that the password last change should be less than 360 days. So these are the parameters. First of all, the username should not log into the domain controller. It should not run services. The password of this account should be changed, okay, maybe every say be less than 360 days, so at least once a year, okay. And I can add to these best practices to disable it completely and to rename it, okay. This is one of the things. Here is saying that he have seen that I have logged in with this account recently, so this should be a problem. He says that you should not log in with this account. So he have seen that I have already logged in with this account. Anyway, I have already logged in. Yes, I have done this, but I have disabled the account, and now I am using my domain admin account. So we can go and see the other test, which is security concerning the KRBTGT password. Let's see what is the KRBTGT password. But before that, let's go to our video and see if we will do something here. I will check on my domain controller if I have the account operators group have any membership. We can do this using this PowerShell command. So this is the domain admin. Here we can see if we don't get any output, then that means that this group doesn't have any members. And we can see here I am putting the SID of the group, not the name. So you can do both. You can add the SID or add the name of the group. So now there is no output. So that means that the account operators group doesn't have any members. Now we can go to schema admins. I have told you all that I have already done this. This is also the PowerShell command that will test or will see if you have any members in the schema admins. But you need to change a lot of parameters in this script or in this PowerShell command. So I'm just inserting the script in a text file, and then I am changing the parameters, for example the domain, so it can get the data I need. So here I'm putting my domain, and then let's see how this will be done. Okay, I think I need to change also the parameter of this domain. Okay, I need to change the parameter here also, this as well. Let's see. Anyway, you can do this by checking manually from the Active Directory users and computers to see if you have any members in the schema admins group. So here again the parameter domain should not be done like that, or should not be left blank. You need to put your domain in it. Anyway, so I have already told you guys about this test. The administrators, we have also seen this test. So now we can stop at the KRBTG password. There is an account in the Active Directory which is called KRBTG account. Okay, what is this account? I can show you a screenshot of this account. If we go there, let me show you all how this looks like. If you go to here, and you can go to, let's see, this is the KBTRG. So if you go to the Active Directory users and computers, in the users container, you will see something called KRBTGT. This is Key Distribution Center Service account. This account is disabled by default. This account is responsible for creating ground ticket for users to access the domain, or the permission to access the domain. Okay, so let's see what the AI tools has to say about this account. If you go there and ask it, if we ask what the KRBTG service account, let me see, or let me show you all what does this account do. The KRBTG account service do. Let's see what this account does exactly. Here is the answer of Perplexity. And by the way, one thing here, the test, or this test, saying that you should change the password of this account. So if we go, let me show you all again the screenshot. If we go there, where is the screenshot? Let me get it back to you guys again. So the test will make sure, so let's go there and get you the screenshot. The test needs to make sure that the password for this account should be changed regularly, maybe once a year, okay? And a very strong password, because this is a service account, maybe 20 characters or more. So he is checking if you change the password for this account regularly. Okay, why? This because any hacker, if he control this account, he can have access to any resource in the domain, and he can impersonate any user identity in the domain. We will see what is the risk for not changing the password of this account. So let's go and see first what does this account do. If we go to there, and let me read it for you loudly and see what does this account do exactly. Okay, let's see that. So here you go. If you go there again, let me see that. Okay, here you go, and let's read it loudly like that.
Based on the search results, here is a summary of what the KRBEGT account does in Active Directory. The role of the KRBEGT account. The KRB
Pro.
What does the KRGEGT account service do? Pro search. Researching. Sources. Based on the search results, here is a summary of what the KRBEGT account does in Active Directory. The role of the KRBEGT account. The KRBEGT account is a critical account in Active Directory that serves the following key functions. Kerberos authentication. The KRBEGT account is used by the Key Distribution Center, KDC, service on domain controllers to encrypt and sign Kerberos tickets. When a user or service wants to authenticate, they first obtain a ticket granting ticket, TGT, that is encrypted with a key derived from the KRBEGT account's password. This allows the KDC to verify the authenticity of the TGT. Golden ticket prevention. The KRBEGT account's password is a critical secret, as knowing this password would allow an attacker to forge arbitrary Kerberos tickets, known as a golden ticket attack. This would give the attacker full access to the domain. RODC isolation. Read-only domain controllers, ROCs, have their own unique KRBEGT account, KRBEGT_#######, to cryptographically isolate them from the main domain. This ensures that compromising an RODC does not compromise the entire domain. Immutable account. The KRBEGT account cannot be deleted, renamed, or enabled/disabled. It is a fundamental part of the Kerberos authentication process in Active Directory. Resetting the KRBEGT password. Due to the critical nature of the KRBEGT account, Microsoft recommends periodically resetting its password as part of a comprehensive security strategy. This helps mitigate the risk of a golden ticket attack if the password is ever compromised. The process involves resetting the KRBEGT password twice, waiting 24 to 48 hours between resets to ensure all domain controllers have the new password. This is typically done during a maintenance window to avoid disrupting user authentication. Overall, the KRBEGT account is a foundational component of Kerberos authentication in Active Directory, and its security is paramount to protecting the domain from compromise.
So this is one thing. If we go to Claude and ask it what is the KRBTG password, he will say, or let's see the answer in simple terms. Here we can get another answer. Let's read it loudly.
The KRBEGT password is a crucial component in Active Directory security. Let me explain it in simpler terms. What it is. The KRBEGT account is a special account in Active Directory that acts as the service account for the Key Distribution Center, KDC, service. The password for this account is used to encrypt and sign all Kerberos tickets in a domain. Function. It's used to encrypt the ticket granting ticket, TGT, in the Kerberos authentication process. Every time a user logs in, their credentials are validated against this account. Importance. It's critical for the security of the entire Active Directory domain. If compromised, An attacker could create valid Kerberos tickets for any account in the domain. Characteristics. It's not a regular user account and can't be used to log in. The password is typically very long and complex, automatically generated by the system. Password reset. Unlike regular accounts, resetting this password is a more complex process. It requires a double reset to fully propagate through the domain. Security implications. If this password is compromised, it can lead to a golden ticket attack, one of the most severe types of Active Directory compromises. Best practices. The KRBDGT password should be reset periodically as a security measure. This reset should be carefully planned and executed to avoid domain-wide authentication issues. Think of the KRBDGT account and its password as the master key to your Active Directory kingdom. It's used to validate the identity of every user and service in your domain, so keeping it secure is paramount to your network's overall security. Would you like more information on how to properly reset the KRBDGT password or best practices for managing it?
So this is a very critical account. You should be very careful when you reset the account, reset the password of this account, because this will distribute the authentication process in your domain. This should be done very, very carefully. It should not be done easily and or in an easy way. And this should be done during a maintenance window when there are no users in the domain working within the domain. So if we see here the KRBTG password reset procedures and best practices, here is saying how you can do that. These are the steps. Okay, you can see how this is done. Let me show you all how this is done. Let me read it loudly. Let's see that.
KRBDGT password, reset procedure and best practices. Reset procedure. Important. This procedure requires careful planning and execution. It should be performed during a maintenance window. Preparation. Ensure all domain controllers, DCs, are online and replicating properly. Verify you have domain admin or equivalent privileges. Backup your Active Directory database. First reset. Open PowerShell as administrator on the primary domain controller, PDC, emulator. Run the following command. PowerShell. Copy. Reset KRBDGT password. If the above command is not available, use PowerShell. Copy. Set AD account password CN equals KRBDGT. CN equals users. DC equals your domain. DC equals comreset. New password. Convert to secure string as plain text. Complex password 1. Force. Force replication to all DCs. PowerShell. Copy. repadmin/syncall/audap. Wait period. Wait for at least the maximum Kerberos ticket lifetime. Default is 10 hours, plus some buffer time, e.g., 12 hours total. Second reset. Repeat steps 2 to 3. This second reset is crucial to invalidate any potentially compromised tickets. Verification. Monitor for any authentication issues across your domain. Check replication status. PowerShell. Copy. repadmin/repl summary. Best practices. Regular resets. Reset the KRBDGT password at least twice a year. Reset immediately if domain admin credentials are compromised. Scheduling. Perform resets during off hours to minimize potential disruptions. Avoid resetting near other major changes or updates. Documentation. Keep a secure record of when resets are performed. Document any issues encountered and their resolutions. Testing. Have a test domain to practice the reset procedure. Perform a trial run in a non-production environment before doing it in production. Monitoring. Closely monitor authentication events and logs after a reset. Be prepared to quickly respond to any issues. Communication. Inform IT staff about the planned reset and potential impacts. Have a communication plan ready in case of unexpected issues. Backup and recovery. Always have a current backup of your Active Directory before performing a reset. Know how to restore from backup if needed. Automation with caution. While scripts exist to automate this process, use them cautiously and only after thorough testing. Kerberos ticket lifetime. Be aware of your domain's Kerberos ticket lifetime settings, as this affects the reset process. Multi-domain environments. In multi-domain forests, coordinate resets across all domains. Potential risks and mitigation. Risk. Authentication failures across the domain mitigation. Perform resets during off hours, monitor closely, be prepared to roll back. Risk. Replication issues preventing complete propagation mitigation. Verify replication health before starting. Monitor replication throughout the process. Risk. Application failures due to hard-coded credentials mitigation. Inventory applications using Kerberos authentication. Test thoroughly in non-production first. Remember, resetting the KRBEGT password is a critical operation that affects the entire domain. Always approach it with caution, thorough planning, and proper testing.
So we can see very, very good answer and detailed, and he is focusing on you should be very careful when you are working with this account because it will do a lot of damage if it is not reset correctly. Let's go to ChatGPT and ask it a question here. What does account do in simple terms? Let's see that and see what will be the answer. Very, very short answer. Actually, ChatGPT 4o is going down because actually all of the answers are very short and sometimes repetitive. So he's saying it's a default account in Active Directory. In simple terms, it helps manage authentication in a network by generating and providing tickets that allow users and devices to access resources securely. A good answer. This account plays a crucial role in the Kerberos authentication process, ensuring that users are who they claim to be and have permissions to access specific services or files on the network. So, good thing. Okay, let me show you something here. Also, another question I asked Perplexity why it is disabled by default. So if you go there, you will see it is disabled. So how this is possible? Because if this disabled, then that means it will not work. But actually, even though it is disabled, but it's still working and it can do its job. So if you go and ask Perplexity why this service account is disabled by default, this will be there will be an answer. And well, if it is disabled, how it issue and validate Kerberos tickets? So this is two questions. Let's see first the answer why it is disabled by default.
Why is the KRBEGT service account disabled by default in Active Directory? The KRBEGT service account in Active Directory is disabled by default for the following key reasons. Security reasons. The KRBEGT account is a highly privileged account that is
Pro.
Why KRBEGT service account in New thread. Disabled by default for the following key reasons. Security reasons. The KRBEGT account is a highly privileged account that is critical to the functioning of Kerberos authentication in the domain. If an attacker were to gain access to the KRBEGT account credentials, they could create golden tickets that would allow them to impersonate any user in the domain, including domain administrators. Disabling the KRBEGT account by default helps prevent unauthorized access and misuse of this powerful account. Operational reasons. The KRBEGT account is not meant to be used interactively by users or administrators. It is solely a service account used by the Key Distribution Center, KDC, to issue and validate Kerberos tickets. Keeping the KRBDGT account disabled by default prevents accidental or unauthorized access and modifications to this critical account. The account name and SID cannot be changed, so disabling it is the recommended way to secure it. Architectural reasons. Each domain in an Active Directory forest has its own KRBDGT account, which is used to encrypt and sign Kerberos tickets for that domain. Disabling the KRBDGT account by default helps maintain the cryptographic isolation between domains and ensures proper Kerberos authentication. Read-only domain controllers, ROCs, also have their own unique KRBDGT accounts, KRBDGT_########, to further enhance security. In summary, the KRBDGT account is disabled by default in Active Directory for strong security, operational, and architectural reasons. It is a highly privileged account that should be carefully managed and protected against unauthorized access or misuse.
So this is the answer. So, well, let's see the answer here.
Misuse. https://blogchuesdcom/what https://bl
So let's make it like that.
The KRBDGT service account in Active Directory is disabled by default, but it is still able to issue and validate Kerberos tickets for the domain. Here's how it works. How the KRBDGT account issues Kerberos tickets. The KRBDGT account is a special system account that is not meant for interactive logon. Its purpose is solely to facilitate Kerberos authentication in the domain. When a user authenticates to the domain, they request a Kerberos ticket granting ticket, TGT, from the Key Distribution Center, KDC, running on a domain controller. The KDC uses the KRBDGT account's password hash to encrypt and sign the TGT that it issues to the user. This TGT allows the user to request service tickets to access resources without re-authenticating. How the KRBDGT account validates Kerberos tickets. When a user presents their TGT to the KDC to request a service ticket, the KDC uses the KRBDGT account's password hash to decrypt and validate the TGT. If the TGT is valid, the KDC will issue a service ticket to the user that is encrypted with the service account's password hash. The service account can then decrypt the service ticket to authenticate the user. Why the KRBDGT account is disabled by default. The KRBDGT account is disabled by default for security reasons. If an attacker were to compromise the KRBDGT account, they could create golden tickets that would allow them to impersonate any user in the domain. Disabling the account prevents accidental or unauthorized access and modifications to this critical account. The KRBDGT account is not meant to be used interactively, so disabling it has no impact on normal Kerberos authentication. In summary, the KRBDGT account is able to issue and validate Kerberos tickets while disabled by using its password hash to encrypt and decrypt the tickets. Disabling the account is a security best practice to prevent misuse of this powerful account.
So this is the answer. Perplexity. As we can see here that now we have a full view about what does this account do exactly. So if we go there to the test, we can see here that he have checked that I have already. Let me go further and see that he's saying that I have already changed the password, even though I didn't change it. KDC should be changed frequently, so I have already changed the password. Or if I have an Azure, there is a special account for the Azure. If I have a read-only domain controller KRPTG account, change frequently. KRPTG RDO account without RODC. So if there is an account and there is no RDC or RODC, so this is not logic. Anyway, so he's checking the password of this account, and he have seen that I changed the password, even though I didn't change it. Actually, it was that the whole domain was created recently, so we didn't pass even 10 or 20 days. So he will check, I think, if the password was changed during a certain period. Okay, so he will check that and see. But anyway, so we can see that this is the test, and then if you go further, we will see another test called DFSR flags, which is a test that will make sure that you have this service available, which is called distributed file service replication. This is a service that is responsible for replicating the sysvol folders. He will check if you have this service enabled on your domain controller and if it is used to replicate the sysvol folder. Why is that? Because before this service there was an old service called file service replication or file replication service, which was an old version which is not secure. He will check, or it is obsolete, so he want to check if you have this working. So let me stop for a moment here. So let's continue, guys. Here we stopped at the test was called DFSR flags. It will check if you have the distributed file system replication services enabled on your domain controller, and if it is replicating the sysvol folder. If you go and see the result here, say it's sysvol mode DFSR. So if it is FSR or FRS, then this is a finding. You should use the DFSR for replicating the sysvol folder. So normally checking if the DFSR service is replicating the sysvol folder, not the FRS. Okay, there is some problems concerning the FRS. If we go and ask Claude what is the DFRS and the difference between it and FRS, okay, and why we should use DFRS instead of FRS for replicating files, and especially sysvol folder. Let's explain in simple terms, and then we can take this and give it to other AI tools. So here is an answer. Okay, so let me also give it to ChatGPT to give me an answer, and to get for Perplexity, let me go and make a new thread and give it this question, and then where is the answer here? I think maybe we can close this one, close this one, and close this one, and open Perplexity from the beginning. Perplexity, AI. Okay, and then we can go and make like that, and do this, and add the question, and get the answer. Okay, let's see the answer of Claude here. Or let's get it by the most accurate one, which is Perplexity, because it's giving us resources for his answer. Okay, here he is talking about file replication service, distributes shared files and group policy object across Microsoft network, replaced with NT LAN manager replication service, was partially replaced with distributed file system replication. So it was replaced by distributed file system replication, also known as NTFRS. Okay, understanding DFRS and FRS. Let's see the answer.
Understanding DFRS and FRS. File Replication Service, FRS, and Distributed File System Replication, DFRS, are both technologies used in Microsoft Windows Server environments for replicating files across multiple servers, particularly within Active Directory, AD. What is FRS? File Replication Service, FRS, was introduced in Windows 2000 and is primarily used to replicate the sysfil folder, which contains important files for group policy and scripts necessary for user logins and network operations. FRS is a multi-master replication service, meaning that changes can be made on any domain controller, and those changes are replicated to others. However, it replicates entire files rather than just the changes, which can lead to inefficiencies, especially with larger files. What is DFRS? Distributed File System Replication, DFRS, was introduced in Windows Server 2003 R2 and later versions. It is designed to replace FRS due to its enhanced capabilities. DFRS uses Remote Differential Compression, RDC, which allows it to replicate only the changes made to files rather than the entire file. This significantly reduces the amount of data transferred over the network, making it more efficient and faster. Key differences between FRS and DFRS. Feature: FRS, DFRS. Replication method: full file replication. Block level replication, RDC. Efficiency: less efficient, replicates entire files. More efficient, replicates only changes. Scalability: limited scalability. Better scalability, supports more DCs. Error handling: basic error handling. Advanced self-healing capabilities. Security: outdated and less secure. Continuously updated for security. Why use DFRS instead of FRS for sysfil replication? Efficiency: DFRS's ability to replicate only the changes to files, block-level replication, reduces network traffic and speeds up the replication process. This is particularly important for the sysfil folder, which can contain many files that change frequently. Scalability: DFRS can handle larger environments more effectively than FRS. It allows for more domain controllers, DCs, without the performance degradation seen with FRS. Reliability and security: DFRS has more robust error handling and self-healing capabilities, which means it can recover from replication errors more gracefully. Additionally, DFRS is actively maintained and updated by Microsoft, making it a more secure option compared to the outdated FRS. Future-proofing: Microsoft has deprecated FRS, meaning it will not receive updates or support in newer server versions. Transitioning to DFRS ensures that your replication technology is supported and will benefit from future improvements. In summary, using DFRS for replicating the sysfil folder offers significant advantages in terms of efficiency, reliability, scalability, and security. Transitioning from FRS to DFRS is recommended for organizations that want to maintain an effective and secure Active Directory environment. Share. Rewrite.
So this is a very, very good answer, and there is a couple of videos how you can transfer from FRS to DFRS if you want to replicate Sysvol folders. There is some videos to do that, especially the FRS was used in 2012 R2 Windows operating system. Okay, so you could encounter uh, a problem that you need to migrate from FRS to DFRS to replicate your Sysvol folder. There is a lot of videos how you can do that safely without any disruption in your network or disruption in your network. So let's see Claude and the answer of Claude, which I think will be less, or it will be better for us to understand. Let's see, or tell it to read out loudly.
Claude can make mistakes. Please let me explain the concepts of DFRS, Distributed File Replication Service, and FRS, File Replication Service, in simple terms, focusing on their use for replicating files, especially the Sysvol folder. FRS, File Replication Service FRS, is an older technology used in Windows Server to replicate files between domain controllers. It was primarily used to replicate the Sysvol folder, which contains important group policy and logon script information. DFRS, Distributed File Replication Service DFRS, also known as DFS replication, is a newer and improved version of file replication technology introduced by Microsoft. It's designed to be more efficient and reliable than FRS. Key differences and reasons to use DFRS instead of FRS. Performance. DFRS is faster and more efficient at replicating files, especially when dealing with large numbers of files or frequent changes. Bandwidth usage. DFRS uses compression and only replicates the changed parts of files, which reduces network bandwidth usage. Conflict resolution. DFRS has better mechanisms for handling conflicts when files are changed on multiple servers simultaneously. Scalability. DFRS can handle larger volumes of data and more complex replication scenarios. Recovery. DFRS has improved recovery mechanisms if replication is interrupted or if servers go offline for extended periods. Sysvol replication. For the Sysvol folder specifically, DFRS provides more reliable and consistent replication, which is crucial for maintaining consistent group policies across a domain. Support. Microsoft has deprecated FRS and strongly recommends using DFRS. FRS is not available in newer versions of Windows Server. In simple terms, DFRS is like an upgraded, more reliable and efficient version of FRS. It's better at copying files between servers, uses less network resources, and handles problems more effectively. For the Sysvol folder, which is critical for domain operations, DFRS ensures that important settings and scripts are copied correctly and quickly between domain controllers. Microsoft recommends using DFRS instead of FRS because it provides a more robust and future-proof solution for file replication, especially for crucial components like the Sysvol folder. Copy. Retry.
So we can see here that the test has confirmed that we are using the DFRS for replicating the Sysvol folder. Here we can see that the Sysvol mode, we use the FSR, okay, which is a confirmation that we are working with the latest protocols or latest services or advanced services for replication. So this is one thing. If we go to ChatGPT and see the answer, okay, I think we can stop here for a moment and continue when I come. So let's continue, guys. Let's see the answer of Claude 4 concerning the differences between the DFRS and the FRS and each one of them, or description of each one of them.
What is DFSR? Distributed File System Replication is a service in Windows Server that allows you to efficiently replicate folders, including the Sysvol folder, across multiple servers. It ensures that changes made to files and folders on one server are synchronized with other servers, providing redundancy and high availability. What is FRS? File Replication Service is an older technology used in earlier versions of Windows Server to replicate files and folders, including the sysfile folder, across multiple servers. Key differences between DFSR and FRS. One, efficiency. DFSR uses a technology called remote differential compression to replicate only the changed portions of files, making it more efficient and reducing bandwidth usage. FRS replicates the entire file, even if only a small part of it has changed, which is less efficient and uses more bandwidth. 2. Reliability. DFSR is more reliable and robust with better mechanisms for handling conflicts and errors. FRS is prone to more replication issues and conflicts. 3. Performance. DFSR offers better performance, especially in large and complex environments. FRS can struggle with performance in such environments. Why use DFSR instead of FRS for replicating files in sysfile folder? 1. Improved efficiency. DFSR replicates only the changes in files, saving bandwidth and improving replication speed. 2. Enhanced reliability. DFSR has better error handling and conflict resolution, reducing the likelihood of replication issues. 3. Better performance. DFSR can handle larger environments more effectively, ensuring timely and accurate replication of files. 4. Modern standards. DFSR is the standard for newer versions of Windows Server, whereas FRS is deprecated and no longer supported in the latest Windows Server versions. Simplified example. Imagine you have multiple offices that need to share updated documents. With FRS, every time you change even a tiny part of a document, the entire document is sent to all offices. This can be slow and use a lot of internet data. With DFSR, only the small part of the document that you changed is sent to the other offices. This is much faster and uses less data. In conclusion, DFSR is the preferred choice for replicating files and the sysfile folder because it is more efficient, reliable, and better suited to modern server environments.
So we will stop here for a moment, guys. And so let's continue, guys. Now we have seen the differences between the DFRS and FRS, and we can go to the next test, which is forest DNS zone should have the proper Vismo owner. So here this test is checking the partition of the forest DNS zone in the Active Directory database and who is the owner of this partition. Normally it should be the infrastructure master. Okay, he should be the owner of this partition. So he's checking and see if this is correct or not. If we go there, we will see this is the infrastructure, okay, of the forest zone, DNS zone. I think this is the infrastructure, the forest DNS zone, okay, the container of the infrastructure in the forest DNS zone partition. Here the owner is this DCSM0125, which is the Vismo role, or the infrastructure master, and actually has the 5 Vismo roles. Okay, so name infrastructure. We will see something here. I'll try to ask a Perplexity to see what this subject we can find. Let's go and tell him to get a new thread. Okay, if we go, I need to make a small refresh like that, or let me do like that and open a new session. Okay, and then we can go there and we can just wait for a moment, and then let's see if we can tell him to how much we have. We have 3 searches or pro searches. Let's see what this will come. So here, for example, there is a problem if your partition or forest zone partition is not owned by the Vismo role server or the infrastructure server. Here, let's see what is the answer. Okay, let's read it loudly.
To ensure that the forest DNS zones have the correct FSMO, flexible single master operation, owner, it's essential to understand the role of FSMO in Active Directory, AD, and how to manage it effectively. Understanding
Pro.
forest DNS zones should have proper FSMO owner, 0 Adele, Pro Search. Search for the FSMO owner of forest DNS zones. Sources: 5 FSMO. New. To ensure that the forest DNS zones have the correct FSMO, flexible single master operation, owner, it's essential to understand the role of FSMO in Active Directory, AD, and how to manage it effectively. Understanding FSMO roles. Active Directory uses FSMO roles to manage certain critical operations that cannot be performed in a multi-master environment. There are 5 FSMO roles, each with specific responsibilities. Schema Master manages schema updates. Domain Naming Master controls domain additions and removals. RID Master allocates security identifiers, SIDs, for objects. PDC Emulator handles password changes and time synchronization. Infrastructure Master updates references to objects and other domains. In addition to these, there are also infrastructure masters for specific application partitions, such as domain DNS zones and forest DNS zones. Each of these partitions can have its own FSMO role holder, which is crucial for maintaining the integrity of cross-domain references and ensuring that updates are properly propagated. Importance of proper FSMO ownership. When the FSMO role owner is not correctly assigned, it can lead to significant issues, such as inability to modify the schema or add or remove domains, problems with password updates and group policy applications, failure to update cross-domain references, leading to inconsistencies in access control lists, ACLs. If the FSMO role owner for forest DNS zones is showing as a deleted object, indicated by the \0 Adele suffix, it means that the domain controller that previously held this role is no longer available. This can result in the error message. The role owner attribute could not be read, which indicates that operations dependent on this FSMO role will fail until the issue is resolved. Steps to correct FSMO ownership. To ensure that the forest DNS zones have the proper FSMO owner, follow these steps. Identify the current FSMO role owner. Use tools like nsutl or getAD domain controller in PowerShell to check which domain controller currently holds the FSMO role. Determine the correct owner. Decide which domain controller should take over the FSMO role. This should typically be a reliable and operational domain controller within the same domain. Transfer or seize the role. If the current owner is still operational, you can transfer the role using the nsutl command or the Active Directory users and computers ADUC interface. If the current owner is permanently offline, you may need to seize the role. This can be done using the following command in nsutl. Bash. nsutl roles connections connect to server. Verify the change. After transferring or seizing the role, verify that the FSMO role ownership has been updated correctly. You can do this by checking the FSMO role owner attribute in the Active Directory. Monitor replication. Ensure that AD replication is functioning correctly across all domain controllers to prevent any inconsistencies. By following these steps, you can ensure that your forest DNS zones have the correct FSMO owner, thereby maintaining the integrity and functionality of your Active Directory environment. Proper management of FSMO roles is crucial for preventing issues related to domain operations and ensuring smooth authentication process.
So he is saying that the forest DNS zone partition and the domain DNS zone partition, the owner of these two partitions should be the infrastructure master. But let's give it a direct question. Who is the owner of the forest DNS zone and domain DNS zone partition in Active Directory database. Okay, so this is one good question to ask, but he has already answered this, but just to make sure it is correct. So here, let's see the answer. Okay, but this commands, okay, has its own model. Okay, by running. Okay, he didn't answer by default. Who is the owner? Who is the owner? The owner. Okay, just to make sure. Is as follows. Let's see how he will answer. The schema master holder is typically the owner of the forest DNS zone. This role is responsible for managing changes to the schema across the schema master role is typically the owner of the forest DNS zone partition. Okay, this is a new one. Then this is not the infrastructure master, as he was saying. If we go up here with the answer, if we go there, he is saying that in addition, there are also infrastructure masters for specific application partitions such as domain DNS zone or forest DNS zone. Is saying that there is infrastructure master for specific application as domain DNS and forest DNS. Okay, this is strange because let's confirm this answer. If we go there, he's saying that the forest DNS on the schema master is the typical holder of the forest DNS zone. The domain domain controllers in specific manage the domain controllers in specific manage the DNS zone partition. Okay, in additional, the schema master is one of the 5 roles. No, I don't think so. This is not a correct answer. Okay, if you get this one and ask Copilot, let's see what will be the answer. Okay, let's see who is the owner. Who is the owner? Is by default the owner. The owner. The domain admins group is the owner of both. Okay, I'm not asking about. Okay, this is the domain admin, but I need to have. I mean, who is the Vismo role owner of these partitions? I am sure it is the infrastructure master. Okay, this is not correct. Anyway, so I think as it seems from the answer, or this is correct, I am sure that here we can see some references. He is saying that in addition, there are also infrastructure masters for specific application partitions, so as DNS zones and forest zones. Okay, they have their Vismo holder. I think this is the infrastructure master. So this is very, very simple, and the O or 0ADEL, this means if you see the Vismo ownership, this syntax, then that means that it was an old domain controller and it was removed. So there is no current owner for this partition. Okay, so let me show you all this. So if in the Vismo role owner for forest zone is showing a deleted object indicated by OADL. So if you see the owner of the forest DNS zone 0ADL, then that means it was a domain controller that was removed from the domains. If we see some screenshots here, this is some errors that you may encounter. Let me see some screenshots maybe. This you can see here, okay, the partitions and the holders of these partitions, and you can see the domain naming master. Okay, anyway, so this is how, or this is the test. You need to make sure that the holding of the or the owner of the forest DNS zone partition, it is the infrastructure master, or the domain controller holding the infrastructure master. Okay, so this is done for the domain zone as well as the forest zone. You need to have these two already holding, or they are holded by the infrastructure master. Okay, as for the next test with HDHCP authorized in a domain, you need to make sure that your DHCP is authorized by the Active Directory to issue IP addresses for the PCs and servers in the domain. This is very, very simple, and we have already done this when we were configuring the DHCP. Here he is giving the test result. We have already our DHCP authorized. And then the last thing, or the couple of things here, he is checking for unsupported computer operating system. So for example, he's checking if you have Windows Vista, Windows 2000, Windows XP, or having Windows Server 2003, or having Windows Server 2012 R2 or 2008. You need to make sure all of these operating systems are removed from your domain because they are not supported anymore, and they have security breaches, or they have security issues because they are not updated anymore. This is for the computers, and then for the mainstreams or for the servers, we need to check for both. And at the end, if you are working with Exchange server, you need to make sure this is not, or this point is not in your domain. I don't have any Exchange, so this concludes. This is an Exchange point. I don't have Exchange in my Active Directory. And the last thing here, I think, is duplicate objects. If you have two objects with the same relative distinguished name. So here, this test will check if you have two objects with the same relative name. This will not be done. So for example, if you have two folders with the same name, or two OUs with the same name, or two groups with the same name, one will be named thing and the other is copy. Okay, so this is something. Let me show you all chat or Claude answering this thing. Let's go and get what is a duplicate, or let me show you all what is the mean by duplicate ONCF. If you go there and copy and ask Perplexity the same question, this is very, very simple, and it will show you a small thing concerning this one. Let's go also and ask what is, in simple terms. Let's see that, and we'll ask okay, Pro. We have already done our search. If you do like that and tell him what is, okay, and let's go like that. Okay, okay, let's tell him to give an example, just to make sure. Give an example to make it more to illustrate. So we will see the answer, and okay, so this is an answer. First, let's see the definition of the definition of this one. What is a duplicate object? First of all, it will check if you have objects in the Active Directory with the same name. This is the purpose of the test, but let's see and how this is done and how it appears in the Active Directory. Let's first see the answer of Perplexity.
Duplicate objects, 0ACNF, duplicate RDN, are objects in Active Directory that have the same relative distinguished name, RDN, under the same parent container or organizational unit, OU, on different domain controllers. This occurs when two objects are created with the same RDN near simultaneously on separate domain.
Pro.
What is duplicate objects, 0ACNF? Zero ACNF, duplicate RDN. Sources.
Pro.
Duplicate objects, 0ACNF, duplicate RDN, are objects in Active Directory that have the same relative distinguished name, RDN, under the same parent container or organizational unit, OU, on different domain controllers. This occurs when two objects are created with the same RDN near simultaneously on separate domain controllers before replication happens. When one of the new objects replicates to another domain controller, the conflict is recognized and one of the objects is renamed by the system. The renamed object will have a modified RDN in the format of old. For example, if two objects named Bob Smith are created in the same OU, one may be renamed to Bob Smith \0ACNF 1234567 CDF 1234-567890 AppDef. This occurs when two objects are This occurs when two objects are created with the same RDN near simultaneously on separate domain control. When one of the new objects replicates to another domain controller, the conflict is recognized and one of the objects is renamed by the system. The renamed object will have a modified RDN in the format of old. For example, if two objects named Bob Smith are created in the same OU, one may be renamed to Bob Smith \0ACNF 1234567 CDF 1234-567890 AppDef. This occurs when two objects are created with the same RDN near simultaneously on separate domain controllers before replication happens.
So let's read it from here.
This occurs when two objects are created with the same RDN
We
near
will stop like here. These duplicate objects are also known as CNF objects or conflict objects. While they do not necessarily cause major issues, it's important to clean up them from Active Directory. So you will not have two objects of the same name, but the copied object will have at the end of it something called OACNF. We need to make sure that the duplicate or the copied uh, the copied item is removed. So let's see here an example to illustrate that. Let's see that here to be more clear.
Certainly. Let's illustrate the concept of duplicate objects, 0ACNF, duplicate RDN, with a practical example. Scenario. Imagine you have an Active Directory environment with two domain controllers, DC1 and DC2. Both controllers are responsible for managing user accounts in the same organizational unit, OU, called employees. Step-by-step example. Creating user accounts. An administrator creates a user account named John Doe on DC1. Simultaneously, another administrator creates a user account with the same name, John Doe, on DC2 before the changes replicate. Initial state, DC1,
CN égale John Doe ou égale employé.
DC2,
CN égale John Doe ou égale employé.
replication conflict. When the changes replicate between DC1 and DC2, Active Directory detects that there are two objects with the same RDN, John Doe, in the same OU. Resolution. To resolve the conflict, Active Directory automatically renames one of the objects. Let's say DC2's object is renamed. The renamed object on DC2 becomes John Doe \0ACNF 1234567 CDF 1234-567890 appdef, where the GUID, globally unique identifier, is a unique identifier for that object. Final state, DC1, CN equals John Doe, OU equals employees. DC2, CN equals John Doe \0ACNF 1234567 CDF 1234-567890 appdef, OU equals employees. Implications. Visibility. The renamed object can still be accessed, but it may lead to confusion for administrators and users. Cleanup. It's advisable to clean up these CNF objects to maintain a clear and organized Active Directory structure. This can be done using tools like PowerShell or ADSIEdit. Finding and removing duplicate objects. To find and remove these duplicate objects, you can use PowerShell commands. Here's a simple example. PowerShell. Hashtag find all CNF objects in the specified OU get AD object filter name, like *0ACNF* search base, OU equals employees, DC equals your domain, DC equals com, hashtag remove a specific CNF object. Be cautious with this command. Remove AD object identity. CN equals John Doe \0ACNF 1234567 CDF 1234-567890 appdef. OU equals employees. DC equals your domain. DC equals com. Conclusion. This example illustrates how duplicate objects, 0ACNF, can occur in an Active Directory environment and emphasizes the importance of monitoring and managing these objects to ensure a clean and efficient directory structure. Share.
So this
Rewrite.
is the test, okay, and it needs, or it will check for duplicate objects in your Active Directory, and actually I don't have one. So this is the last test concerning the domain findings. In the upcoming video we will work with the findings in the domain controllers. So now we have all of our tests done. The upcoming video will begin seeing the findings concerning each domain controller. This is the whole findings of the Testomo report in the domain and the forest. We need to see the findings of Testomo in each domain controller separately. But before that, we can go to Claude and see the answer of what is duplicate objects. Okay, zero authentication conflicts due to replication conflict. Okay, so I think I think this is very simple. Okay, to multiple objects. Okay, is saying that duplicate objects refer to multiple objects in the Active Directory that are essentially copies of each other. O0ACNF, this is special prefix that stands for zero authentication conflict. It's used by Active Directory to mark objects that have been duplicated due to a replication conflict. RNDN, this is a unique name of an object within its parent container in the Active Directory. It's like the first name in a family, only need to be unique within that family. Duplicate RDN, this means that there are multiple objects with the same name in the same container, which should not normally happen in the Active Directory. Putting all together, typically this duplicate objects typically occurs when there is a replication conflict in the Active Directory. It happens if two domain controllers try to create or modify the same object at the same time, but with different details. To resolve this conflict, Active Directory creates a duplicate of the object and mark it with the 0ACNF prefix. This allows both versions to exist temporarily, preventing data loss while the conflict is being resolved. Okay, anyway, so this is very simple. We don't need to clarify more. If we go to ChatGPT, I think it will give a simpler answer, but I think it will not be simpler than Claude, but we can ask it like that, copy and go to ChatGPT. But I begin to worry about ChatGPT because the answers are not that good anymore. So here the example is not that. Anyway, so we finished all of the findings concerning the report or testimony. We will continue the upcoming video in the findings concerning the primary domain controller. Hope this video informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.